Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be doing a quick review of my Week 1 NFL lineups on DraftKings. I'm going to talk about my lineups, play about 20 lineups every week on DK, play about 20 on FanDuel, and I play 10 on Yahoo. Since I mostly do my videos on DraftKings, I'll just cover my DraftKings lineups, but if you guys do want to see my FanDuel and Yahoo lineups, let me know down in the comments. I'll be sure to show those in next week's video. But for now, just going to stick to DK. I play a lot of the 20 max like entry contests. So I've got 20 lineups that I'll talk about. I'll talk about my exposures, the guys that I was very heavy on. Talk about some of the guys that maybe I wasn't as heavy on that I should have been or should have had more exposure to. I'll talk about some of the guys that did good for me, some of the guys that really disappointed. And after we do this, we'll spend about 5 or 6 minutes talking about my lineups. We'll move on to the Monday night slate, the NFL slate, two-gamer between the Jets and the Lions and the Rams and the Raiders. There's a two-game slate, so I'll give some picks for this, some advice for this slate. But we'll start off with the lineups real quick. Before we do get started, though, guys, make sure you drop a like on the video. Would really appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Feel free to leave any comments down below on how you guys did for Week 1. Let me know some of the players that you were heavy on, maybe how some of your lineups did. We'd really like to just chat with you guys, talk about the slate, how you guys did. But we'll go ahead and start. Look at my lineups. We'll talk about some of my highest scoring lineups. Obviously, I made 20 of them, so I believe this one was my highest scoring lineup, 206.88. I had a Brady to Gronkowski stack with Connor and a Kamara. Kamara, two of my most exposed players. I think I had Connor in about 80% of my lineups, and I had Kamara in about 60. Obviously, that worked out for me. Connor went for 38 DraftKings points, Kamara 46. I knew these guys were going to be popular, but I didn't really care. I just play the best plays. If a guy's going to be 60% owned, I don't really care about ownership. I'm just going to play the guys that I feel like make the most sense. And I was pretty heavy on Connor Kamara just because they made so much sense this week. Had that Brady to Gronkowski stack. Danny Amendola and Keelan Cole were two guys I went to for value. That didn't really work out. Keelan Cole was a receiver I probably shouldn't have been as heavy on. I had him in a lot of lineups. I think about 55, 60%. That definitely could have been a fade. Value receivers are much easier to fade than value running backs just because receivers, it's a lot harder for them to get the work, for them to get the targets. Whereas running backs, they're going to get 20 carries. It's a lot easier for a running back to pay off value, a value running back at least, than a receiver to pay off value. So I probably should have went a different route. Probably should have had more Kenny Stills as a value option than a guy like Cole. So Cole and Amendola really hurt this lineup. Had McCaffrey. He was a guy I liked in that mid-tier. He just really fit in this lineup. Sanders was a mid-tier play I liked as well. I knew he was going to be somewhat popular. But at 5K, I felt like he could have easily put up plenty of points just at that price tag to return value. And he did so, 32.5, and then the Steelers defense, 11 points. That was my high-scoring lineup. We'll scroll through some of my other ones. Just talk about my exposures. Just kind of look at my scores. Look at how some players did. Ryan Griffin, big time bust for me at 0. When we got the news that Will Fuller was out, I felt like the Patriots were really going to try and, just not shut down DeAndre Hopkins, but try and just maybe double team him, just take him out of the game. So I felt like that could have opened up targets for Ryan Griffin. I know he had some pretty good splits when Will Fuller was off the field. Ryan Griffin had some good numbers, so I plugged him in a couple lineups. I think I wound up going like 15% on Ryan Griffin. Obviously did not work. I think he got 5 targets, but just didn't catch any of those targets. That was a really disappointing play. Chris Hogan, another really disappointing play. I think I wound up with about 35% Chris Hogan. He put up 2 DraftKings points, probably one of the biggest busts of Week 1. I know he was pretty popular. A lot of people were on him. He did make a ton of sense this week. That was kind of just a play that didn't really work out. Brady threw he threw 3 touchdowns. I think one of them went to Dorsett, one of them went to James White, and the other one went to Gronk. Brady was just really spreading the ball around, but when he was throwing the ball to Chris Hogan, Hogan wasn't catching it. It didn't work, the connection between them. I think Hogan got 5 targets, but only caught one of the 5 targets for 12 yards, I'd imagine, or 11 yards. That's why I finished with 2.1 DraftKings points. Really disappointing outing from Chris Hogan. Another one of my high-scoring lineups here, 187, had a Breeze to Michael Thomas stack. That's probably a stack that I should have been a lot heavier on. I think I only had Breeze in like 2 lineups out of 20, so only about 8% Breeze. Same with Michael Thomas. I think I only played Thomas in the lineups that I played Breeze. Definitely should have been higher on that stack. Just with that game, the shootout potential, obviously should have had more Breeze. Played David Johnson over Kamara in this lineup. I didn't want to play Breeze, Kamara, and Thomas, but obviously looking at it now, that was definitely the way to go. Just the full Saints onslaught. Just that game in general, a game stack, that was the way to win, or a GPP this week. Went David Johnson over Kamara. Obviously that hurt. Johnson only put up 17. Kamara put up like 46. He put up like 30 more points. But yeah, we'll start scrolling down, looking at some of my other lineups, just seeing some of the scores that stood out to me. Melvin Gordon, 30 DraftKings points. I did have a lot of Melvin Gordon. Just at his price tag, he seemed a little bit underpriced. Same with Alex Collins. I wound up getting a lot of Alex Collins. I think I wound up with like 20%. It started off really good. Collins got a touchdown early on in the game, but then he just really didn't do much after that. Let's see if I can find a lineup with Alex Collins. I know I had him in a couple. Yeah, at the top here, this lineup put up 149, had Alex Collins. I think he had a touchdown to start the game, and then he just couldn't get anything going. Only finished with 7.9 DraftKings points. The Ravens put up like 46 points, and I think Alex Collins he wasn't involved in the game much, at least not towards the end. Once the Ravens got up big, they kind of just let Collins take a rest. Pretty annoying. At 5,600, I thought he easily could have hit value, but sometimes just things don't work out. Collins, a play that really didn't work out. But let's see, looking at some of my other lineups, talking about like just position by position, the guys I had most exposure to, definitely Dalton and Brady. As you can see here, I got a lot of Brady lineups. I had some Dalton lineups in here. A lot of Dalton to AJ Green stacks, especially when you get down here. I had a Dalton to John Ross stack with bringing it back with T.Y. Hilton. Had a Dalton to AJ Green with Jack Doyle on the other side. Was very heavy on that Colts-Bengals game. And I would say that was somewhat of a disappointing game when it comes to fantasy. AJ Green was okay, 20 DraftKings points, but that's obviously just a week when 300 points was the high-scoring lineup. 20 points kind of wasn't really enough. I was really expecting a bigger outing from AJ Green. He wound up being, I believe, one of my highest exposed wide receivers. Him and Chris Hogan, who obviously really disappointed. But yeah, Brady and Dalton were kind of my two highest exposed quarterbacks. A running back, I stuck to the Connor Kamara, just chalk. I didn't really care it was going to be high owned. I felt like Connor and Kamara were the two best plays at the running back position. Had a lot of exposure to them. Definitely didn't have them in every single lineup though. I had some Alex Collins, had some David Johnson, had a lot of Melvin Gordon. I played him in flex spots. In a lot of lineups where I played Connor and Kamara, I definitely had Melvin Gordon in the flex because I really liked him. Had a little bit of McCaffrey. He was the guy that I think I had like 20% on. I liked McCaffrey this week. He was okay, but not great. But at wide receiver, like my most exposed wide receivers, the value plays were Keelan Cole. I had a ton of Keelan Cole. Had a lot of him. He wasn't very good. Chris Hogan, obviously one of my highest exposed wide receivers, only 2 DraftKings points. Very disappointing there. AJ Green was definitely one of my highest stud receivers. Like if I paid up a receiver, AJ Green was a guy that I liked a lot there. Did have some Antonio Brown, not a lot. I think I had like 10%, 15% Brown. Same with Beckham. I did like Beckham this week. I just thought Beckham, I know it was a tough matchup against the Jaguars, but if he was going to be 5% owned, I definitely wanted to have 10, 15%. So I think I had Beckham in like 3 out of 20, maybe 4 out of 20 lineups. I can't remember. And Beckham was actually pretty solid, 25 DraftKings points against the Jaguars. He was really good. Danny Amendola was a value receiver I had some exposure to. He was not that great. Only 6.6 DK points. Manny Sanders in that mid-tier. Had some exposure to Sanders. Once I initially built my lineups, I don't think I had much. I think I only had like 5 or 10% Sanders. I believe I started up in that. I think I wound up with like 20% as we got to lock. So getting more exposure to Manny Sanders worked out. 32.5 DK points. But those are kind of the receivers I had the most exposure to. Obviously didn't have enough Michael Thomas. Should have had a lot of Michael Thomas. But yeah, let's go ahead and look at tight end. Tight end, I think Jack Doyle and Gronk were my 2 highest exposed tight ends. If I could pay up at the position, I wanted to get Gronk. If I needed value, Jack Doyle was kind of the guy I looked to. I wound up on some Ryan Griffin. I mentioned that earlier, just with Fuller being out. Had a little bit of Jordan Reed because I felt like he was just too cheap being healthy. 4K was too cheap a price for a healthy Jordan Reed. He wasn't great, only 14.8 DK points, but neither was Doyle as well. Really, tight end, you just kind of needed to pay up for Gronk. He was the best play there. But defense, I kind of spread around my ownership at defense. I think the Ravens were my highest exposed defense, I believe. Definitely had a lot of the Chargers. I felt the Chargers were just too cheap facing a rookie quarterback. But Mahomes proved me wrong. That dude's just really good. And the Chargers offense just looked really good in general. So the Chargers D really disappointed for me. Definitely had a lot of the Panthers D. They were somewhat okay, 12 DraftKings points. The Dolphins were a cheap D. I found it myself on 13 DK points from them. The Bengals, another cheap D I found myself on in some lineups where I didn't play Doyle or didn't play T.Y. Hilton. But defense was mostly focused on the Ravens, the Chargers, and the Panthers. Those were the three defenses I had the most exposure to. But yeah, those are my week one lineups. Just scrolling through. If you want to look at them, you can real quickly. We'll go ahead and move on to the Monday night slate. These are all 20 of my lineups. If you want to pause the screen, just look at them, you can. But let's go ahead and move on to this week one Monday night slate between the Jets, Lions, and the Rams, Raiders. We'll talk about each position on this two-game slate. We'll do it real quickly. Since the two-game slate, we got four quarterbacks to choose from: Goff, Stafford, Carr, and Darnold. Just looking at this position, Matthew Stafford's probably my favorite quarterback here at 6,800 at home versus the Jets. Just such a good matchup. The Jets are terrible. They're going to be terrible this year. Stafford's at home in the Dome where we know he's able to throw the ball really well. The Lions just seem to put up points when they're at home. Stafford, he seems to play well at home. So I like going with him at quarterback. Todd Gurley, pretty much a lock on this two-game slate. If you want to be really contrarian and just say, you know what, I'm going to fade Gurley and hope just he doesn't have it today, just doesn't have a good game, you could do that, but I think you just lock in Gurley today. He's too good of a play. He gets too much volume. He's going to get 15, 20 carries. He's going to get 5, maybe even 10 targets. The guy's going to be one of the best fantasy options all year. So I'm just locking in Gurley. He's going to put up at least 15, 20 DraftKings points. Obviously, if you don't have him and he goes for 30, 40, you're probably not going to win on this two-game slate. So just lock in Gurley, just in my opinion. But other running backs, it's a really bad position once you get away from Gurley. Marshawn Lynch might be the guy you go to just because he's probably going to get the most carries for Oakland. You could consider one of these Jets running backs, especially if you think the Jets might be playing from behind. You could look to Bilal Powell at 4,800. He's probably my favorite RB2 to pair with Gurley because I feel like the Jets are going to be playing from behind. They're going to be throwing the ball. Bilal Powell is obviously their pass-catching running back. So at 4,800, he might be a guy I have some exposure to. You could go to Crowell, but I would lean to Bilal Powell. And Lynch, just if the Raiders get to the goal line, Lynch probably has a good chance of scoring a touchdown. I could see wanting to play him at 5,300, but I do like Bilal Powell, 4,800. But moving on to receiver, definitely want to pair Stafford with somebody, so I like Golden Tate, 6,900 versus the Jets. Obviously a good matchup here. I just think this Lions offense is going to put up plenty of points. The Lions are probably my favorite stack on this two-game slate. Whether you want to play Stafford with Tate, you want to play Stafford with Marvin Jones, you want to play you want to play Tate and Jones with Stafford, you could do that. I just really like Tate and Stafford here. Like this stacks. We know Stafford's going to target Golden Tate. Tate's going to get plenty of targets. He's going to just get plenty of opportunity. He could easily go for 100 yards, a touchdown, get 8, 9, 10 targets. Like Stafford today, obviously like Tate as well at 6,900. You could go to Marvin Jones, but if I have to just pick one, I think I'm going to roll with Tate at 6,900. There's a lot of value I like a receiver on this two-game slate. Really like Brandon Cooks, 5,800. He just seems too cheap for this matchup with the Raiders. This Raiders defense is not going to be good this year. At least I don't feel like it. They obviously lost Khalil Mack. He's on the Bears now. Khalil Mack was such a good player for that defense. And now that they don't have him, I don't think they're going to be able to rush the quarterback very much. I feel like Goff's going to have a lot of time to throw the ball, just have a lot of time to stay in the pocket. He's going to be able to refine his receivers. Really like Cooks at 5,800. You could obviously look to Cooper Kupp as well, but Cooks at 5,800 is probably my preferred play. Then a value play I like is Quincy Enunwa, 4,500. Robbie Anderson in this matchup is going to see a lot of Darius Slay. Darius Slay is obviously one of the best cornerbacks for the Lions. He probably is their best cornerback. So if Slay's going to be on Anderson a lot, then that could really open up some targets for Enunwa. Like I said at the beginning, I have a feeling the Jets are going to be playing from behind in this game. They're going to have to throw the ball a lot, especially if Jermaine Kearse is out. It looks like Enunwa is listed as the backup to Jermaine Kearse. Not sure if he's got ruled out for this game. Looks like he is doubtful, so he's not going to play. At least he's not expected to play. Enunwa should start. Should be the second receiver behind Robbie Anderson. And like I said, Anderson has a tough matchup with Slay. If Slay's going to be following Anderson around all game, Enunwa should see plenty of targets from Sam Darnold. So I do like Enunwa, cheap value option, 4,500. Really good receiver. Didn't play at all last year because of injury. But when Enunwa was playing a couple years ago, he was pretty good for the Jets. I like him as a cheap value option. At receiver, 4,500. Tight end, this position is really gross. I don't even know if half of these tight ends are even going to see any targets. I think Jared Cook's just the best play here because he's the guy that you know is probably going to get about 5 or 6 targets. Is Luke Wilson going to see targets for the Lions? Honestly, I don't know. Is Tyler Higbee going to see targets for the Rams? At 3K, could we play him? I don't know. Just feel like the Rams, the Lions, these teams don't really use their tight ends much, especially since the Lions got rid of Eric Ebron. I don't know who they're really going to target. The Jets, are they going to use their tight end much? Could we play Clive Walford or whatever his name is at 2,900? Just don't know if the targets are going to be there, so that's kind of why I would probably roll with Jared Cook here. He's just probably the tight end that's going to see the most targets. He's the most expensive, but he's really not that expensive at 3,800. I'd probably just lock him in at tight end. And then at defense, easily my favorite play here is the Lions at 3,500. The Jets might struggle here. They're going to be playing from behind. They got a rookie quarterback playing. Sam Darnold's going to be making his first career start. He could have some jitters. And since the Jets are probably going to be playing from behind, they're going to have to throw the ball. They're going to be dropping back. It's just opportunity for sacks for the Lions, opportunity for interceptions. Lions, easily my favorite defense play at 3,500. They're probably going to be the most popular, so easily you could get contrarian at defense. Defense would definitely be a spot I would go a little bit different, especially on a 2-game slate. It's probably my favorite contrarian defense. Might honestly be the Rams against Oakland. I just feel like Oakland's not going to be that great this year, and I really don't like any of those players on this 2-game slate. I don't want to play any of their players, so might as well look to the defense against them. 3,700. We know the Rams have a good defense. If the Lions are going to be 60% owned, the Rams are only going to be 20% owned. I just find the $200 get up to the Rams because if I can get contrarian at any position on a 2-game slate, it would definitely be defense rather than fading Todd Gurley. If you want to get different somewhere, get different at defense, get different at tight end, maybe even a little contrarian at running back or receiver. But for sure, make sure you lock in Gurley at 9,600. Easily the top play on the board for this 2-game slate. But yeah, guys, that's it for the 2-game slate. That's it for the lineup review. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video, and hopefully it did help you. If you have any comments, any feedback, be sure to let me know down in the comment section below. Always reading comments. Just love to see what you guys have to say. If you haven't liked the video yet, I would really appreciate it if you would give the video a like. If you have not subscribed yet, make sure you do subscribe as well. If you have any questions, like I said, you can comment them down below. You can always hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT. Feel free to do that as well. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. My Week 2 NFL picks should come out most likely on Tuesday or Wednesday, so be on the lookout for those. Would appreciate it if you would check that video out. But yeah, guys, good luck tonight on this 2-game slate.